cars and they all black. Got 4 bras and they all that. We call that ballin'. Doing this is my calling. Flow is so appalling. My phone.
What's up? I'm Sal.
I'm RJ. This is Dos
and Tres. So this week is the final video of our biggest training camp questions. Finally, we're gonna get into the AFC South.
Last month before real football starts. I mean, training camp's 2 weeks, so let's get into it. Let's get this over with.
So from worst to first up is the Jags. They showed, flashes of potential early last year, and then it just all crumbled. And a lot of that's going to go to the guy, which we're going to talk about, Blake Bortles. And I'm not going to hate on the guy. I really, I think he's a pretty good quarterback. And now that they've surrounded him with pieces, especially Leonard Fournette, are they going to switch to a smash mouth football concept? And is Blake Bortles going to thrive in that? I think he kind of has to. They picked up his 5th-year option. A lot of things always depend on the quarterback. And Blake Bortles has shown that he can handle that position in years past, maybe not last year. So hopefully he can replicate the success of 2015 rather than 2016 and really show the Jags that they can invest in him for the future.
Yeah, well, they gave him the 5th-year option, and as far as after that goes, we'll see what happens. But I really feel they gave them that because they do really have a lot of the pieces now. Not that they didn't have before, but this is the defenses with all those young guys. They're starting to begin their 2nd, 3rd year, sometimes 4th year, and really get that veteran presence back there now with signing. We'll get into it later on the defense side of the ball. But Barry Church, like I said, I really think they gave him that deal because in this division, anybody can win this division every single year. And when you have the pieces around you, you're like, man, let's keep the quarterback. Let's give him another shot. Let's let him keep trying. And we got him help with Fournette, so I really feel that's why they gave him the 5th-year option. And hopefully he goes back to the 2015 season, his rookie year, minus a little less of the interceptions.
Really, this division is wide open. This has always been the division of people shooting themselves in the foot, and whoever shot themselves in the foot the least was the one who won. So every team we're going to talk about, we think has the potential to win it.
In other divisions, they're all good, so it's a toss-up. This time it's like, well, who's going to make the least amount of bad plays?
They're all mediocre.
Yeah. Yeah, in ways, and they're all good in other ways. So.
Yeah. So on the defense, we were talking about this before we recorded, and you can't really point out a specific weakness on their defense. They have really good players at every position, whether they're young guys or, veterans. Like he said, Barry Church now they have A.J. Boye, Calais Campbell. Those are really good players. Mix in with Dante Fowler.
One of my favorite players out of Florida. Like, he's an absolute monster. When he comes into his own, he's played a little bit last year, but...
And one of my favorite players that they have, Telvin Smith at linebacker. And then Jalen Ramsey, potential to be the next generation of shutdown corners. So really, I guess what we're saying is go get it. This is the year that you have to go out and prove that this defense is for real. Losing Gus Bradley at head coach, that could hinder them a little bit because he was defensive minded. I think he's the one who really got this defense to where it is, and now they got rid of him. But hopefully the players themselves can gel and say, hey, you know what, we're tired of being the laughing stock of the NFL along with the Browns, and let's just go get it and prove to everyone that we're here to freaking take over.
Yeah, it's time to earn your money, especially guys like Malik Jackson and those guys that got signed up front, and they signed Campbell, right?
Mm-hmm.
They signed Calais Campbell too, and he's a real wreck havoc, especially him being like 6'7", being able to get his hands up. And yeah, it's time to go get it. I know I've seen Sound FX as far as Jalen. Literally, he was crying on the sideline like, I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of losing. So yeah, we'll see what happens this coming year. They have the pieces there now. So getting into the Indianapolis Colts, Andrew Luck. I mean, this guy was the highest graded quarterback coming out since John Elway. And this is another quarterback that you'd like to have controversial topics about. Is he the next great? What's hindering him? Is he hindering the team himself? I mean, he throws a lot of interceptions. But as far as last year, you saw the injury in his shoulder, and he really, sometimes they had to go to the backup. And this coming into this year, Pagano's really hesitant on saying really anything about him. It's just going to be interesting to see what he's able to participate in training camp and if he's there physically, not mentally, because we all know he's one of the smartest quarterbacks, but being there physically. So we'll see what happens with Luck. It's the most important position, best player you've had since Peyton Manning, which it wasn't a big of a drop-off, but we'll see what happens.
I really like Luck as a quarterback. I think he is the next great, but man, these injuries have really, hindered that. And I just want to say about the Colts, they've really lucked out. Before Luck, they had Peyton Manning, 2 generational talents. They have a lot of turmoil going on behind the scenes. They kind of remind me of the AFC Redskins, hopefully Chris Ballard, their new GM, will bring some stability there. But they've never really focused on the issues at hand as far as drafting wise. Their offensive line still isn't that good. Their defense isn't that good. So really all they have is luck. And is he going to be able to burden that with an injured shoulder and one healthy shoulder? I don't know. I hope so, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I really like the guy. I mean, they got him a little help on the offensive line now, a little bit, but man, it's hard to say if that's going to be enough, especially when he's already had injuries.
Really, I think the thing that would help him the most is a solid run game, and they unfortunately Trent Richardson didn't work out.
Yeah, they gave up a first-round pick for that shit.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts made some really bad trades, kind of like the Cowboys did in the 2000s for Roy Williams. Gave up 2 first-round picks for that guy. They gave up a first-round pick for Trent Richardson. That's what it reminded me of, afterwards. They just need to get luck as much help as they possibly can.
It's frustrating because you hate to see such a great player, some of his years wasted. It's crazy that he even got them to the AFC Championship game when they got torched by the Patriots, but it's crazy that they even got there when you think about it.
And it really was all on his shoulders.
Yeah.
I mean, he put it all on the damn line, and especially against the Chiefs whenever he dove over the freaking line, picked up his fumble. That was an amazing play.
Yeah, one of the best playoff games. Anyways, but yeah.
Yeah, moving on to their defense. Like we said, they haven't really drafted well. This year, we think that they did better. I mean, they got the best players when their picks came up, which was Malik Hooker and Quincy Wilson. 2 guys that can help this secondary, but are they going to be enough to really change it? I don't know. I'm going to say no, but definitely not in their first year, I don't think. Just because Malik's coming off of an injury, and Quincy, he's a good corner. I think he'll be a great corner in the future, but he's just one guy. You need to just completely fill this defense with playmakers and the offense too. So
they picked up Hankins, and they have Vontae Davis on the other side with Quincy, but like we said, I mean, is that really going to be enough? As far as their linebacking core, it's not really. It's really subpar. I keep saying we'll see what happens, but really in this division, it's just like it's
this whole team is just a question mark. I mean, from the top to bottom. I mean, then you talk about Pagano. Is he going to be, coaching the team next year? I mean, everything's a question. You never know.
And that question can stop if their new GM that they hired provides stability, which we see now with drafting Hooker and Quincy, which was a great draft. But 2 or 3 years from now, hopefully, for Colts fans, you won't be asking that. Going into the Tennessee Titans, my favorite team leading into this year in this division. I guess I'll be a little biased here, but as far as their offensive line, they have one of the best in the whole entire NFL. Arguably, some people argue with the Cowboys, but that's for another.
They're not over the Cowboys.
All right, that's for another day. Marco, phenomenal running back after he left the Eagles. Derrick Henry, the backup, and the receivers this year. They have the court. Mariota is such a great talent, young quarterback, along with Jameis. They came into the same class. They got him the weapons finally. They drafted Corey Davis. They pretty much surprised everybody. That's when the wide receiver came off the board like crazy. But yeah, I thought Corey Davis, he reminded me a lot of T.O. coming out as far as his body, being able to run after the catch, plays that he's able to make. They brought in Eric Decker, free agent, just a touchdown machine. He's always reliable. If you want a touchdown in the red zone, just throw it to that guy. So yeah, Mariota's got the pieces, and I think it's going to be, there's not really much of a question. It's just utilizing those pieces now and just go get it. Go get the division.
Pretty much, we're going to say the same thing. Go get it for all these teams, because last year the Titans also showed potential, but then they couldn't really make plays outside of the running game. Then Mariota got hurt, and it's just like a sad disaster always happens for each one of these teams.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, I'm limping to victory for the division.
Well, the Texans win by default.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Because they have the best defense by far in this division. So hopefully these receivers can be reliable for Mariota, because another guy that I like, he shows a lot of potential. This next generation of quarterbacks going, phasing into the next generation of this league. Once Tom Brady's gone, Romo's gone, once Breeze is gone, and then Peyton Manning retired.
Eli, Rivers, once those guys are gone, these are some good young quarterbacks.
Good young quarterbacks, exactly. Oh, and not to forget Dak.
Dak Prescott, yeah. So yeah.
So now on their defense, I mean, they got a pretty solid defense, and they brought in some new guys to their secondary, and that's what we want to talk about. Logan Ryan, pretty good cornerback. They lost Jason McCourty, so he fills in there. They got Jonathan Cyprien from the Jags. He'll slide into safety. And then they also drafted Adoree Jackson out of USC. Are these guys going to be able to meld together? The secondary is always a unit. They got to communicate well with each other. Cyprien, he didn't really show, too much good play last year, but he has in the past.
Yeah, and when you draft a guy like Adoree Brady, especially in this division where game can swing either way. It's nice to have a guy that can impact on special teams and defensive side of the ball. We'll see what happens as far as him being able to impact the game on the return game defensively, and we know he's really explosive, so it's nice to have a guy, bringing in a guy like that into a division like this.
And honestly, if they want to be bold, they could even play Edry at offense, because he did that at USC too. So he's got a lot of versatility, which is why I think he was the pick there. Next is the Texans, the division winners by default, seems like, for like the last 5 years.
It's really crazy to think that when the Colts did win the division and they still had a shitty offensive line, it was really on Andrew Luck's hands. I remember T.Y. Hilton just torching the Texans, even though the Texans they've had a great defense for the past 4 or 5 years now, almost 4 years. Like, Luck really, he really just did put the team on his back. Like, if you throw an offense at the Texans like Luck did when the year that they won the division, this offense coming in, the Jags can do it, the Titans can do it now, well, hopefully with the receiving core. If you throw an offensive at the Texans, an explosive offense, they don't have an offense that can combat that.
Yeah, so if they get into a shootout, they can't really match with you,
it's not going to happen.
The thing we want to talk about with the Texans, and like we said before, every division is going to have some question at quarterback, and that goes to the Texans. Somehow they have a quarterback question being the division winners. When is Deshaun Watson going to see the field? If it worked up to me, I'd put him in a week 1 and see what happens. And I'm probably just saying that because of what happened last year with Dak, kind of a little biased, but I like Watson. I think he's a really good quarterback. He reminded me of Dak a lot. Dak probably had a lot more on his shoulders because he didn't have nearly as much talent at Mississippi State versus Clemson. If you're going to take the guy number 1, as your first round pick and jump up that far, and then Bill O'Brien's your coach, he really has no one to learn from on the sidelines, like as far as, taking a year off, and who's he going to learn from? Tom Savage, your third-year quarterback? I mean,
or Brandon Weeden?
Yeah, or freaking, yeah, exactly. So just play him as soon as possible is what I'm saying.
Like I was saying, if you throw a really good offense at the Texans, they don't have an offense to combat that with. So the biggest question right here is getting Watson in there and seeing if you finally have that with this quarterback, which I don't think he has to put up a lot of points, but when you're able to stay productive and keep your defense off the field, and when they are out there, they get a quick stop, and you're able to maintain drives like you weren't able to do with Savage, Osweiler, or whoever it was, then that's the biggest question, is hopefully their number 4 can be that guy for them.
So the next question is probably the most famous Texans player of all time, J.J. Watt. Not a personal favorite of mine. You could probably just tag me as a hater, but whatever.
Romo spin.
But I want to talk seriously about him in that he's coming off of an injury, his contract's huge, and you have so much defensive talent and such a lack of offensive talent. It just screams trade to me. That's what I would do if I were the GM. I know Texans fans are probably thinking, oh, Cowboys hater or whatever, but if you really think about it, they could gain so much from trading him, so much, draft capital or even some kind of offensive weapon. As you could see from last year, their defense played pretty damn good.
Without him.
They have Jadeveon Clowney, who's going to get a contract. They're planning for that. They're also planning for DeAndre Hopkins' contract. They have Whitney Merciless. I mean, they have guys who can get after the quarterback that aren't named J.J. Watt.
One of the reasons being they let Boye walk is because you have those contracts coming up, and you still have enough defensive talent to sort of, I guess you could say, cover up. Yeah, it equalizes up letting him go or whatever and stuff. And they have Kevin Johnson coming back. Like you said before, even if you're a top level player and you've had injuries, that can favor the team when they re-sign you or having to resign a contract, because he was pretty good coming out of Wake Forest, and in his rookie year he played pretty good. As far as trading Watt goes and stuff like that, I kind of agree with it. You need to balance it out, and they played great without him last year. So I mean, hell, they gave the Patriots a run for their money in the first half as far as being able to really rough up Tom Brady. So
you should just be exploring it. You shouldn't get caught up in the fact, oh, this is J.J. Watt, the franchise player of the past 5 years. You should be exploring it and see what you can get, because at the end of the day, it was a back injury. It's a major serious injury, and then especially for a pass rusher, I mean, relying on the bend at the point of attack and things like that, I mean, it's going to be tough. I know he's superhuman. The dude is a freak of nature, but will he be able to get back to prime J.J. Watt? I don't know.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a business. Cowboys, they explored it. Look, it's almost have $20 million in cap space because 9's gone. So
back injury too.
Yeah, so
we've been through it. Shit happens.
Yeah. Good luck to the Texans and the rest of the teams. Not really the Texans though. I really hope y'all don't win by default. I'm telling you, these
It just gets annoying.
Yeah, it gets
after a while,
annoying
like-
because these other teams really do have young potential, and now that these teams seem to have offenses that they're going to be able to throw at you, well, you really better hope that Deshaun is able to not be this amazing quarterback, but be able to, like I said, keep the defense off the field, because when the defense is out there, they can make a stop real quick and be able to sustain long drives and put up at least 21 to 25 points a game. I think that's enough, but we'll see what happens. And
I mean, and as you can tell from what we're saying, we're not the biggest Texans fans, but I'm still a fan of Deshaun Watson, so I want to see him
I'm still a fan
succeed.
of Deshaun
So
too.
get him out on the field and see what he can do.
really
And
like-
if in turn that helps the Texans, well, shit, it helps the
Well, yeah,
Texans,
it
whatever.
You have to play him. If you're really going to sell to the fans, your GM and coach, you're really going to sell to the fans that you're going to win with Savage or Whedon. There's really no.
The
words
Cowboys
for it.
did that, 2 years ago, and see where that got him. I mean,
Yeah.
we were freaking hoping and praying with Whedon, and that got his shit. So
Yeah.
take it from us.
Yeah, don't sell yourself short when you have such a great defense right now. You can win. You can be a playoff contention. Because every single time they get in the playoffs, they get a high-powered offense thrown at them, like I've said, and they don't have the offense to combat that with that. They don't have the offense to score the points. So now, put Deshaun in there. Please, do it.
So after our Texas rant, that's pretty much it for this
Yeah.
video. We went over the AFC South, my bad. If you like this video and you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube at Dos and Tres. And if you want to become a super subscriber, hit the bell next to the subscribe button.
And follow us on our social media sites, Facebook and Twitter at Dos and Threats YT. That does it.
Peace.
Peace.
Okay, it's rap pack to my post flat. We keep it real, no false rap. I got 4 cars and they all black. Got 4 bras and they all that. We call that ballin'. Doing this is my calling. Flow is so appalling. My phone off and she calling. I'm like, yeah, what it do? Penthouse, man, what a view. Fall back cause I'm coming through with my whole team. They coming too, that's real.